the internet dragging DaBaby again. This is from, no disrespect, but it's the Ukrainian woman. I'll just play the video, but this is me now reacting to the aftermath of her killing, and then this is the tribute that DaBaby did for his music video.
Now, DaBaby is currently on the receiving end of some backlash due to a music video he dropped yesterday. I want to have a little conversation about the backlash and what's actually going on. Now, for all my people who've been tuned into all the uploads, you guys know that yesterday I dropped a video on the young woman in Charlotte, North Carolina, who lost her life in that stabbing. Very horrible situation. That story honestly shook me to my core, and I just feel so bad about it because it could have all been prevented had the perpetrator been dealt with by the system. Now, DaBaby actually ended up dropping a tribute to that young woman yesterday in a music video that he put out. Now, really quickly, DaBaby is of course a rapper who was very popular a few years ago. I'm sure most people have at least seen his face or name or heard one of his songs. He's actually from Charlotte himself, where this tragedy unfortunately happened. Now, yesterday he hopped on social media and he promoted this music video he dropped called Save Me. The music video, which starts off with showing off the surveillance footage of the death of Irina Zarutska, has been getting a lot of backlash. Some of the social media outrage comments include people saying things like, DaBaby is actually sick and I'm actually gonna have to delete this app, like ninjas really are not well. Or this other one, which was a response to his tweet promoting the song, where someone said, DaBaby about to get canceled while already being canceled, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because is DaBaby actually capable of getting canceled when he already got canceled years ago? That's a good question, right? That aside, there's been a huge debate about whether or not this video was appropriate, especially at this time because this tragedy happened so recently. If you see my video from yesterday on the tragedy, you guys already know how I feel about it. I just think it's so terrible that the system failed this young woman so bad. And honestly, something about that story still sits so heavy on my heart. I can't explain it, but I guess it's just the humanity in me, right? Now, I watched the music video that DaBaby dropped, so I want to give you guys my personal opinion on it and a little breakdown. Now, initially when I seen it from the outside, like the promotion, without watching the video itself, my initial reaction was, really, nigga? Like, really, ninja? Especially considering the fact that how the entire video starts off is with the surveillance footage of the actual situation and not a portrayal of it. I think if you're going to be on some Joyner Lucas type shit, actually do it all the way. I know that Joyner gets a lot of criticism for his videos because people think he's corny and all that, but honestly, you got to appreciate how much effort he puts into his videos, especially in this day and age when music videos aren't really that impactful or beneficial for an artist's career as, let's say, short form content. Now, when it comes to DaBaby, I think he could have definitely played that differently, considering the fact that first impressions are important. And if you're going to do a tribute to such a tragic story, the last thing you'd want is for people to misconstrue your intentions by thinking you're trying to clout chase. So that's number one. Also, while we're at number one, I do want to mention that DaBaby actually put the GoFund link for Irina Zarutska at the top of the description, which is something that I myself didn't do in my video. Like, I didn't even know that there was a GoFundMe available. So at the time of me dropping this video, I'll not only put it at the top of this video's description, but I'll also put it in the video from yesterday. So right there, DaBaby did something positive, which has inspired me to take some action, which is ultimately going to help the family in this time of grief. Number two, let's talk about the concept of the entire music video. So in a nutshell, DaBaby is positioning himself as the hero. Like, he's saying, if I was there, I would have been able to intervene before it happened and Irina would have survived, which is exactly what happens in the video. Right before the criminal stabs her, DaBaby stops him by holding his arm, right? And then DaBaby himself, the killer, and Irina end up walking out the train as the authorities are standing right outside. So right there, my interpretation is he's introducing the alternative universe of what could have happened if he was there. Also, I do think it's important to note that I don't personally think that DaBaby was making it so much about himself, but I think he made himself serve as a symbol or a representation of the viewer, you or I, being the hero in a situation that can otherwise play out differently, like let's say a tragic ending. And then the last shot in the music video is the killer, DaBaby, and the actress who plays Irina all sitting down together, which I don't know what was supposed to be the representation of that particular shot, because that's not usually how situations like this end, but that's beside the point, right? Overall, this music video has been getting a very strong negative reaction, and there's two sides to this conversation. I do think there's a tone deaf side to this, because like we stated, I don't think including that beginning was appropriate at all. I was watching the news about this particular tragedy, and the family stated that they didn't want people to actually share the surveillance footage, like the uncut raw murder, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it was horrible what happened, right? So one of the unfortunate things of DaBaby doing something like this is it does bring awareness to the story, and that's good, but it does also attract an audience of people to the tragedy who don't necessarily feel compassion or care enough to do research on it. And perhaps that puts a spotlight on, let's say, the actual footage, which we don't want. But then again, I spoke on it as well, and I showed parts of the surveillance footage when I was reporting on the story, and the same thing could be said for me as well, or anyone else covering it, right? I don't want to say that me and DaBaby are different, but what I can tell you, since I'm speaking right now, is why I covered the story, and it was because it personally moved me emotionally, right? I got really shook when I heard about that particular story and when I saw how, she ended up getting killed, right? But when it comes to DaBaby, I don't know if he's spoken about it outside the music, like on any of his social media accounts or whatnot, but maybe that's the point of the music, right? So I do want to say that I understand why he's getting all this pushback. When it comes to things like this, I think there's a way to do it, because what he did isn't necessarily wrong, but I think with some more, I don't want to say finesse, but he could have made it connect more had he done it in a little bit of a different way. As an example, and I don't know if he did this, but maybe tease it a little more before speaking about how the death moved you as someone who's a father and someone who comes from North Carolina where it happened. And another aspect of this is DaBaby is someone who, despite being canceled in a lot of different spaces, he actually has a noticeable enough presence, visibility, fame, but most importantly of all, money. So more than just dropping a music video, I think one of the things that could have helped here is getting in touch with the lawmakers and the movers and the shakers on the legal side in the state, right, of North Carolina, and then possibly help create a ripple effect of some type of positive change in the direction of keeping people like DeCarlos Brown, who was the killer, away from the streets so women and children can walk safely in these streets. That would, in my opinion, be the biggest power move he could make. And maybe this is something he's working towards behind the scenes. I have no clue, right? I'm just trying to plant ideas into the universe. And then on the other side, I don't think him doing this was entirely bad, no matter the particular approach. Because I think one of the things, especially in this social media age, that really helps a great cause is awareness. Irina Zarutska's story has gone global, and it makes me happy to see that people are coming together to grieve her. But more awareness ultimately does something important, which is more people find out about what happened. And ultimately, people finding out about her story is good, right? And I'm happy that he's using his voice for something positive. So on one hand, you or I could criticize him for how he did it, like the fact that he's putting himself as a hero, or I should say he's portraying himself as kind of like the hero. He could have saved the day and whatnot in that particular music video that he dropped. But at the same time, is it really a bad message? I don't really think so at all, because after watching the full music video, my takeaway wasn't anything negative. My takeaway was be more socially aware when you're out in public, not only for yourself, but for your fellow humans. So if there's a situation where I could prevent a woman or let's say a child from getting hurt at the hands of another evil human being, I would want to step up because that's the right thing to do. I do, however, want to add a very important precaution to what I just said, which is just make sure that you personally are safe in the process of trying to stop another person from getting hurt, because as much as we want to be heroes in this world, let's not forget about ourselves, because we all have family to come home to at the end of the day. I think for DaBaby, the biggest thing here is that there was a lack of, I just didn't feel connected to the cause, or I want to say the music video and what he was trying to do here as much as I should have, in my opinion. Because in a time like this, the last thing you'd want is send the signal that you're only doing this to boost yourself up, which is what a lot of people are saying. Now, there's one thing that I'm very confused about as well, which is DaBaby was recently featured on a song called Save Me. So it has the same exact title as this tribute to Irina Zarutska. And that's where things get muddy, because now it could be viewed as, did you title the song Save Me because it goes right along with the concept, or because it has the same exact title as this other song you're featured on, which could perhaps lead to more attention to that song. You get what I'm saying? And I don't know, I'm not really accusing him of doing that, but I'm only sharing the optics, meaning how things look from the outside, because I would assume that DaBaby was genuinely moved by this tragedy like we all were, right? I really don't want to sit here and talk about this in a way where I imagine that he did all this just for some clout, because that'd be crazy. I mean, yes, you never know, especially because his track record does come into play, okay? And I'm not one to hold people's past against them in the current moment, obviously, because we all grow and whatnot, but it is fair to consider. My takeaway from the music video was positive overall. From the outside, it does look murky, especially because the beginning has the surveillance footage. But honestly, after watching the music video, I think his heart was in the right place. I really do. What I'm hoping is this. This is my message to DaBaby if he's watching this, which wouldn't be too crazy because not a lot of people are talking about DaBaby right now. So especially like people with platforms of this size, right? What I think would be very good, my brother, okay, Jonathan Kirk, okay? I think what would be good is that perhaps use your visibility to get in touch with the lawmakers in Charlotte, so in North Carolina, so criminals aren't roaming these streets freely when obviously they are not fit to be in society. That, in my opinion, would be the best outcome, because honestly, I don't want to hear stories like this anymore, man. Like, it's happening way too often. It's time we start protecting society as a whole instead of protecting criminals. And that's where you come in, DaBaby. You got fame, you got some type of popularity, and you got what's most valued in the land of the free, which is money, okay? And so I think DaBaby could make a change is what I'm saying. So we don't hear more stories like this where a 23-year-old young woman who fled a war-torn Ukraine gets stabbed to death because the laws are protecting criminals. That's my honest breakdown of the internet dragging DaBaby again. But I'm curious what you guys think about this story. Comment, like, subscribe for the algorithm. Was DaBaby wrong for this tribute to Irina Zarutska? Or do you think his heart was in the right place? Personally, I think his heart was in the right place, but maybe the approach could have been better. That's what I think. You let me know in the comments.
Yeah, but I do see what he's saying. He could have paid more awareness and have the lawmakers be more accountable for like all these crimes that's been happening around like just society in general, which has never like been organized. It's always been so unorganized, and then the fact that these crimes be coming up weeks later, it's not been accounted for, which needs to be a change. But regardless, like if I give my honest opinion about it, I don't really think there's gonna be really like any change because of how this world is in general.